If you simply visit the homepage of YouTube, your face will be motorboated with this bloke's videos. From making videos counting to 100,000 in his bedroom, to now collaborating with Prime Video to make the biggest game show ever. This man is the face of YouTube, with a following of over 300 million subscribers, and potentially becoming the first YouTube billionaire. This guy is living the dream most could only imagine. So without further ado, let's begin this episode of the internet's biggest fool with, you guessed it, MrBeast. As many of you already know, Kris Tyson has been in hot water lately due to their involvement in allegedly communicating with several minors in an explicit manner, and taking it to a level which would fall right into grooming. But it doesn't end there, as Kris Tyson would also be a supporter and fan of the cartoon artist Shadman, a disgusting individual who on several occasions has used a loophole to produce what can only be described as images catered towards PDF files. At this point, you're probably wondering, Ishraq, why is this video not titled Kris Tyson? Well, because that shit's already been milked. And also, I feel like in this whole situation, there's been one individual who has been given a get out of jail free card. That's right, MrBeast. First of all, let's get back to the Kris Tyson thing. If you recall, a year ago, SunnyV2 made a video, which I recommend watching by the way. It was about Kris Tyson transitioning and what impact that could have on the MrBeast channel. And if you watch the full 9 minutes and 7 seconds of the video, you won't find any transphobic remarks. Instead of letting the video be food for thought, many, including MrBeast himself, marked SunnyV2 as showing transphobia. What's quite ironic is SunnyV2 was merely highlighting the potential controversies MrBeast could face. And it was this video that would later foreshadow the current situation with Kris, where Kris has now had to step down in order to move the fire away from the MrBeast channel. As you can imagine, the Kris Tyson situation was not a good look for MrBeast, especially with the fact that there's a possibility he had a PDF file within his inner circle of friends. But the controversies don't end there. If you recall the introduction, I mentioned a game show with Prime Video. This game show, which has been named Beast Games, is an upcoming competition series which will see the winner with the $5 million payout. This will be the biggest prize pot of its kind. Problem is, during the making of the show, before it's even been released, many have complained about the poor conditions on set, with a number of people reaching out to a popular YouTuber by the name Rosanna Pansino. And so rightfully, Rosanna made a video discussing the situation.
Hey guys, so it is time for a video because I have received messages from over a dozen people involved with the current Beast Games. For those of you who don't know, Beast Games is a competition show ran by MrBeast that will be on Amazon Prime. It is being marketed as the biggest competition show ever. I'll talk more about that later. On to the messages. So the messages that I have received from contestants on the show are pretty much all telling a similar story, and I find them to be very disturbing. Some of the messages are from people who have competed and they've been eliminated. Some of the messages are from people who are still competing, and some of them are from people that I personally know who are involved on the show and still doing so. These people are genuinely upset about how things are going. They're scared for not only their own safety, but the safety of their friends who are still competing. They aren't doing this out of spite. They're doing this because they are afraid for themselves and for their friends.
Before she begins, imagine how bad the environment must be, where you have so many different people working on so many different places within the show, all complaining about the same situation.
As of right now, I have 10 stories from 10 different people, and none of them have shared their stories with each other, and I will be talking more about them in the future. I have personally worked in entertainment and on sets for almost 2 decades, and what is going on here is beyond disgusting and extremely dangerous. I wanted to read you one of the messages with the permission of one of the contestants to give you an idea of why I'm so upset and why I simply just can't let this go. It's absolutely not okay. So I'm going to read to you her message.
You can tell she's not one of those Karens trying to create a toxic complaint from nothing Honestly, you have to respect someone who uses their platform to voice issues affecting everyday people, especially when there is a huge chance of backlash.
I was a contestant until the end. I also didn't accept their hush money. It was really bad. People were having seizures because they were not getting medication, even though we were promised we would. And it was 100% rigged. They presented it as though the game would be like Squid Games, basically a type of game show where all the games are an even playing field. That was not at all the case. All the games were about speed and strength, so only the young athletic males were at an advantage over the women, and elderly people were also casted. To make things worse, men started realizing that they could take out the women without being eliminated. Guys started tackling and hitting women. 2 girls were tackled and passed out on the field and were dragged off to continue filming. I saw people with broken bones, stitches, etc., and most were women.
First of all, yes, if it's a Hunger Games type survival game, I understand why there would be a requirement for athleticism and strength, but as the lady mentioned, it was advertised to them as a Squid Game-like competition with an equal playing field. Now, some of you may be saying, oh, that's bullshit, she must be lying, because MrBeast could never misinform contestants. Well, ask yourselves this. Why on earth would elderly people, knowing it's a physical survival competition, sign up if they know they're competing against young athletic men? It's clear either way some sort of miscommunication must have happened here. Regarding the contestants breaking bones, I have to admit it's not unheard of in game shows such as Gladiators, where during its last season, one gladiator shattered her ankle whilst another tore their hamstring. So injuries aren't unheard of. What is unacceptable is allowing women to get physically abused by men. If this is true, then what sort of message is MrBeast trying to achieve here? That tackling women could land you $5 million?
We were given maybe 400 calories a meal and only fed every 12 hours. Food would run out and people would fight over, steal, and hoard food. Water was scarce and kept running out as well. I had to sit with a bloody pad for 2 days before I could get undergarments and my reusable pads because I'm allergic to regular pads. We were also sleep deprived, only allowed 3 to 4 hours. We all slept on the floor in the stadium in a $10 sleeping bag.
Regarding the calorie restriction, again, I would say it's not uncommon. The UK show I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here sees contestants spend 3 weeks in the jungle, living off around 800 calories a day, similar to the amount this person is describing. However, the feminine hygiene product situation is frankly disgusting. This is something the show should be maintaining as a minimum. Also, with survival shows, they typically implement only one element for the contestants, whether that be food restriction or sleep deprivation. So it's quite bad that this show is doing both at the same time. And again, let's not forget, these fucking morons from MrBeast casted elderly people who obviously would be impacted by these conditions a lot. Not to mention the health implications they could also face.
I get that people saying it's a game show and it's not meant to be easy. I'm not saying it should be easy, but it was presented like Squid Games, where competitions were not biased and didn't exclusively cater to young athletic men. People who went signed up for Squid Games, not for American Ninja Warrior and Survivor. Why else would they cast elderly people on the show? They offered anyone who lost $1,000 to sign away their rights to join any kind of class action lawsuit of any kind. I didn't sign, so I didn't get the money. After this article came out and things started blowing up, they called everyone back and decided to offer an additional $1,000 per person to make up for any of the inconveniences. They knew it was bad, because they also offered to provide therapy through their insurance. And it wasn't Amazon Prime that called me, it was MrBeast's crew.
You know something is fishy when MrBeast's crew are offering $2,000 in compensation in return for their contestants' silence over the bad conditions they experienced. Again, if these allegations are true, then this does not paint a good picture for MrBeast, and it would also show how he effectively tries to control people through money.
We were set up to fail, and when the men started tackling people to get them out, nothing was done about it. They were not even eliminated. The game that had to do with the briefcase, it felt literally like Hunger Games. While MrBeast is standing on his podium, looking down, watching all of us peasants fight for a chance at 5 million. I know it's a game show, and I know it's not meant to be easy, but even with a waiver, it is a company's responsibility to have safety protocols in place to try to prevent injuries. That is not what was happening here.
Yeah, I find this image quite unsettling. You have, as this person described, MrBeast looking down at these contestants like lab rats fighting for a prize. It makes you realize how MrBeast has transcended from making fun YouTube videos to effectively what can only be described as sadistic social experiments, to see how far your average person is willing to go for monetary gain. The fact that a lot of the comments of this video is MrBeast fanboys trying to justify that it's just a survival game is concerning, to say the least. And this person is completely right about safety protocols. Gladiators, the show I mentioned earlier, had the competitors wearing safety gear at all times to prevent injury. So it will be interesting to see what safety precautions, if any, were put on this show. And just to also add, Gladiators does separate male and female competitors because, to no one's surprise, having men fight women, to put it simply, is just wrong.
The fact that the nurses at the hospital in Las Vegas are also confirming all of the injuries that happened is proof. They did not have to sign an NDA. And 5 of us so far have tested positive for COVID. Also, someone was allowed to go in with pink eye, which of course is also contagious. Now, this contestant has shared even more details with me, and I'll keep you updated. I have even more statements to come. And just as someone who has worked in entertainment and on sets, huge professional sets for years, I've seen people being treated different ways, but this is absolutely unacceptable.
Post-pandemic, you would expect everyone to at least be a bit more aware about spreading viral or bacterial infections. How they didn't even check whether contestants were physically well to compete says a lot about this production, and the fact that they allowed someone with pink eye to just go in is reflective of the lack of care given to these contestants by MrBeast. But then again, why should he care for peasants, right? All in all, do I want MrBeast to get cancelled? No. It's not good for the platform, and it doesn't help in bridging the gap between YouTube and the mainstream media. What I will say is MrBeast does need to reflect on what he's doing, especially the exploiting people through cash bit. And honestly, he needs to calm down on the presidency talk, because this last week has proven to me that I wouldn't trust him to run a 5-year-old's birthday party, never mind the whole USA. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on the matter. And if you want to hurl some abuse, the comment section is all yours. Have fun, bitches.